here we go to part 2, ladies and gentlemen, of the presentation of Damian Crawford. We're gonna start off with Finsac. Please guys, smash the like button, share the live with 20 people. Let's get to 20k and the minimum 1,000 likes for all of my videos. That is the new aim. I want a minimum of 1,000 likes on all of my videos. Alright, and I want you guys to join the WhatsApp group, ladies and gentlemen. I want at least 2,500 people. I want the WhatsApp group to be maxed out. Right? There's 2 subsections of my WhatsApp group. There's the one that you guys can just talk all day if you want about the different topics and everything that's going on in Jamaica, and you can organize and reach out to one another depending on which constituency you guys are in. Right? All of that. Right? And then the other one is mostly for me posting my videos, so you guys, if you don't get the notification, you'll be able to see my live streams in real time, you know, if you're available. So let's continue.
2007. Several financial institutions, they call it the Finsac crisis. Finsac period. It's an improper name. It's the financial crisis. The answer was Finsac, not the question, not the problem. I'm coming to it first. The answer was Finsac. But let's go. Several financial institutions. I can send them the script, you know. Alright, we soon reach to kill self. We soon here. Several financial institutions, banks and insurance companies are what we call financial institutions. They collapsed due to poor regulatory oversight, high interest rate, and overexposure to bad loans. Out of that, the PMP government created Finsac, Financial Sector Adjustment Company, to bail out and manage the crisis. What was the impact? Massive increase in public debt. Over 40% of GDP just to resolve the crisis. Inflationary pressures from fiscal strain and loss of confidence. So if I want to go back up to the graph Prime Minister Holness presented. That one. And I want us to pay attention to that graph. If you look at that is 1997. So we get it 1989. By the way, this is just after Gilbert, September 1988. So therefore, because this hurricane will never ever come to Jamaica, they are saying that it is the reason why them are fail and everything mash up. Gilbert, that wrecked Jamaica. By 3 years' time, 4 years, 1993, the debt-to-GDP ratio was 72%. We took it from 212% to 72%.
What is faith?
It means to trust in something.
To hope for the best. To believe in something.
And this is the government that they say is not disciplined.
No, this really put a spear through the heart of the narrative that the government has been throwing in the faces of the Jamaican people. Every time you hear them bring up, oh, burial this, burial that, burial this, and they boast about having these shocks, these prepared. They are prepared for the shocks and being fiscally prudent and prepared for the storm. And when the storm comes, they blame the storm for the current state of the economy. But Gilbert actually hit Jamaica and ravished Jamaica. And what the PMP did and how they responded, where debt to GDP was, if compared to what Andrew Holness is talking about, I mean, mighty God, you cannot say that the PMP is not fiscally prudent and have not shown fiscal prudence for a very, very long time. It's just not true. I'm telling you, Damian Crawford has literally in this speech destroyed Andrew Holness's entire and the JLP entire narrative. How you doing, Roslyn? He has really this. Look at the graph and let us talk about the history of it. Right? Gilbert was not normal. Anybody that experienced Gilbert, put a one in the chat. If you're old enough, because I know there's a lot of elders on my platform, my age group, my people, them they're like what 70, 80-year-old, between 30, 35 and 70 and 80-year-old is my core audience on this platform. So I know you guys experience more than 90% of owner experience Gilbert. And if you never experienced it, you probably born closely after Gilbert licked Jamaica. Right? So we understand how damaging that was to the entire economy. But when they never complain about it. They work through it. So how can you say, oh, thank you so much, Rusty. Lorraine, how you doing, love? How can you say that they are not fiscally disciplined and fiscally prudent? Mash down that lie, man.
Gilbert that wrecked Jamaica. Completely. By 3 years' time, 4 years, 1993, the debt to GDP ratio was 72%. We took it from 212% to 72.
212 to 72, you know. Debt to GDP, you know. Wow. Wow.
And this is the government that they say is not disciplined.
Oh, could it be?
Oh boy. What can go so? At that time, if you look at the graph there from 1993.
Is the Prime Minister's graph?
Alright, the speaker's time having expired. Senator Morris.
Mr. President, the Speaker's time for telling us about lies has expired, I believe, but I think he has maybe 5 more minutes. May he be allowed to finish his interesting presentation, and I hope the students aren't listening too much.
No.
Alright, so the question is that the speaker's time be extended so that he can finish his presentation. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against, ayes have it, Senator Crawford.
It has fallen to me to rebut 5 hours of lies. I need a little time. And I want to say to my students, I want you to listen. Don't necessarily believe everything you hear, but go and check it. That is all we need.
And that is the difference between Damian Crawford, the PMP, and the JLP. The PMP will say to you, go and check the data that I've presented. And Jonas is saying, believe me. And then it's so easy to debunk the lies. It's so easy to debunk the lies. That is why I couldn't even listen to his speech, because I could clearly identify so much lies he told within an hour and a half period. I was like, man, listen, I'm done. I'm not even going to listen to the rest of this. I literally could not listen to any more of it. And then I caught other parts of it on the media that they posted, because they were posting it all over. And the man budget speech was just terrible, Bridget. I'm sorry. It's just the truth. It's just the truth.
Listen to me, listen to them, and then Google. Because the truth is an enemy of that side.
Complete enemy.
This graph is a graph presented by the Prime Minister himself. All I do was screenshot it on my computer and put it up. And they say it's revisionist.
Jamaica first, big up.
Then what if I drew the graph? How's that?
Amazing.
But go back, so let me get back on track. Because can you imagine that, man? Go down. Let this only graph, because the graph prove them right.
Listen, Jamaica first. We all know why Andrew Holness was given 5 hours to speak. Because the JLP have the speakers of the house. All the speakers of the house is from the JLP. All of them are JLP supporters. All of them are biased. Every last one of them. None of them are non-partisan. They cannot help themselves. I'm telling you. Some of them are more biased than others. Obviously the wife. That is why anytime Mark Gordon is speaking, she really tries her best not to be present in Parliament. And she wants to rush every other speaker, but fear her husband can talk for 5 hours. You understand? It's just a bit of skullduggery. It's just a lot of skullduggery and nonsense about in our Parliament, trust me.
Just because you represent the ground, that is what.
Oh boy, come down. Yes. Massive increase in debt. So if you look back, I would have to go back to it, but if you look, you see the climb in debt at the cost of resolving the financial crisis that happened at that time. Up till now, I'm not rich, so them time them barely attend, so it couldn't be me. Don't forget that wasn't there an MP that owned a bank? A JLP MP at the time, along with a Nigerian chief? Wasn't that PMP MP? No. Okay. Wasn't there MPs that got bailed out because their debt wasn't clear?
And there was a former prime minister who got a loan and claimed saying, forget it.
He forget it. Maybe talk about it. So the PMP's response was to introduce strict financial regulations, created Financial Service Commission, the FSC, and Deposit Insurance Corporation, the JDIC. So therefore, the changes that were necessary were not done by the JLP, they were done by the People's National Party.
Absolutely.
And they want to claim that the soft management systems, they had no role. When the
People take a screenshot of that. Take a screenshot of that, do your research.
vast majority of years before they were in power.
So I'm telling myself to take a screenshot of that. Advertisement again.
So how could they? Why didn't they put the JDIC when they're in power? The soft management systems, they had no role when the vast majority of years before they were in power. So how could they? Why didn't they put the JDIC when they're in power of 1980, when the financial guru was in power? Okay, well, I'm glad you know. I'm glad you know. So I come into it. I come into it. Hey, listen, he was reading but not understanding it. What happened? Yeah. In the know what we do now. Jamaica phased out protection for local industries. And hold on, Mr. President, because the class need a little settling down.
All right, but you know, Senator Crawford,
yes,
you allow yourself to get distracted by this side, and you allow yourself to get distracted by the other side. Now look here, the minister,
yes,
graciously asked for an extension of your time, and you got it.
Yes.
Focus on your presentation and let us get through your presentation.
But the difference, right, Mr. President, is that this is the staff room and that is the classroom. The classroom cannot be
disturbed.
All right,
there you go again. and those added comments is what extends it.
All right, and tell them to stop them nice then.
All right.
What happened in the 1990s? Jamaica phased out protection for local industries.
You know, I really dislike that guy. I really dislike them. It's what I'm telling you. Right? You know, Damian Crawford, who has a certain level of respect for them and him and them for him, but they still cannot be fair. All the man them have to do over there say shut the hell up and let the man go through his speech. Right? They are agitating, telling lies, and know the teacher is going to respond. So if you don't want a response, you don't say anything. If you don't want the beer to react, you don't trouble the beer. It's very, very simple. Have some decorum and some respect for the host. There's children watching, but you know, Marlon Morgan cannot help himself and others over there because they don't have that level of discipline. You understand?
The people who the milk will tell you about it. Was it a decision that they made without pressure? No. That was the IMF saying you cannot get a loan unless you abide to the Washington Consensus. Google the Washington Consensus.
Absolutely.
The Washington Consensus was fueled by Thatcher and Reagan, who were the best of friends to the Jamaica Labour Party.
Absolutely.
We can give quotes of Reagan saying that he'll make sure they are successful. They then came and said at this point that the debt to GDP was 260%. If you want any help, you must liberalize farming. You must liberalize banking. You must make the foreign exchange be based on the market forces. You must make interest rate be based on the market forces. This wasn't a decision that the PAP said, we are going to do that. If we were to survive after what they did up to 1989, an IMF loan was necessary. And so
in context of Finsac, ladies and gentlemen, and Andre Horton has said this before on many occasions, but he's not in Parliament, and I cannot wait for the PNP to win. So minds like Andre Horton, you know, has an opportunity to speak on financial issues. You get me? Because he's so astute in that area. Yes? He has spoken about this thing called the Washington Consensus. As a matter of fact, I did a piece on it, I did a video on it, and I actually researched the Washington Consensus. And everything that he's saying is actual factual. The position that the JLP put us in, right, made us have to go here with the Washington Consensus. We had no choice, ladies and gentlemen. We were in a bind. The PNP had to rescue the economy. Don't let anybody tell you anything else. It is the truth of the matter. It actually is. And I never knew. I was one of the ignorant ones that thought that, I was listening to all the narratives that was told by both sides. The JLP said this one do this, the PNP said that one do that. And I was like, yeah man, the two on is same thing. You do this time, and the two on in you guys are doing this on purpose. You really don't want the country to grow, and it's a blame game thing. But when they really iron out the truth, hey, there's no disputing the truth.
Liberalization happened. Many of our industries died. The world moved towards full trade liberalization. Local industries and agriculture collapsed under cheap import. I want you to Google milk powder's impact on the milk industry. Job losses and rural dislocation. Currency depreciation and inflation as markets opened rapidly. What was the PNP response? Introduce social safety net like PATH.
Yes.
Anybody who benefits from the PATH program should be reminded that that is the work of the People's National Party. It then focused on tourism and services to replace lost industry. They used to say pipeline when we were seeking the Spanish to come.
Yes.
We carried the Spanish here.
That's right.
We established the processes for, at that time, sandals to grow, and at that time, breezes, super clubs to grow. Yeah, man. Don't worry yourself, just soon get an explanation. What happened? Global oil prices spiked during the Gulf War, and again in early 2000. Jamaica, being oil dependent, saw increased transportation and electricity costs, and of course bauxite would have faced challenges because of the energy consumption that it did. Notably, there were some events. I hear the crying about what is last one named Beryl. Beryl touched down on St. Elizabeth, and after Beryl, I was out the next day driving up and down. What happened in the PNP's time? Hurricane Gilbert was September 1988. So therefore, it lingered over into February 1989, which we had. Hurricane Ivan was in 2004. Hurricane Dean was in 2007. Destroyed crops, infrastructure and homes, created food inflation, reconstruction costs. The PNP had to deal with that. The EU ACP agreement ended. Now, because we were, what do you call that again? We were colonies. We had a preferential treatment where we sell our bananas at higher prices. So Britain was saying, we're going to give you some repayment for what we have done.
Listen here, man, this is a class right here, ladies and gentlemen.
And they did that with special banana prices, special sugar prices.
Senator Crawford, address me now.
Oh, you want to learn too? All right. So they did that special banana prices, special sugar prices. When Chiquita and Dole,
Yes.
Mr. President, research Chiquita and Dole, carried out.
What I want you to do is address the bill before me.
That what
you are doing, what you are doing, I want you to address this.
On the can't take these licks.
What you are doing, really, right?
The Prime Minister
We
graph for 5
appreciate
hours
it,
on
you know.
these things is the Prime Minister graph.
We appreciate it. But see the time,
You know, I'm no lick figure.
almost.
You have Finan.
1 o'clock.
You can't take these licks. Chiquita and Dole went to court. They carried Britain to court and suggested that this was against WTO agreement. When they won that case, the British had to end preferential treatment for sugar and banana. Because we were dependent on those preferential treatment, that is how banana died quickly, and thereafter sugar also died.
Want to see what happened to them now, ladies and gentlemen? them start to feel the heat of the presentation. And so them start saying, oh, the bill. But later down, Damian Crawford are going to show him the relevance of the argument of why he's doing what he's doing to address the bill. But let's continue.
Led to job losses, rural economic decline. In that period up to 2007, there was also 9/11. These people forget.
How soon they forget?
Like it's them alone. In 9/11, when the planes crashed.
No, you see this part here, so? Yo, man, tell us, say, how many of us really thought about 9/11 and how it impacted the economy? How many of us really thought about that? Tourism, everything, trade, just travel overall. How many of us? That was a terrifying. That you're talking about a shock. Oh, that was terrifying. That was the 9/11 will forever be that moment. When you hear 9/11, if you lived through 9/11, when you hear somebody say 9/11, the first thing that comes to your mind is when the World Trade Center was blown, well, whatever that was. Right? Whatever that was. I'm not gonna get into that, the whole thing about what really happened, but you understand. Nehru, good morning.
Into the World Trade Center. This was September 11, 2001 it was? GDP growth slowed. Government revenue dropped. Tourism massive decline. And it wasn't a world lock, world open. It was a fear of travel that permeated the world and lasted for a very long time. But in spite of all of that, in the period 1989 to 2007, the PMP ended IMF borrowing relationship and passed 12 consecutive IMF tests. The IMF test has been used over the last 9 years as a proxy of good governance and fiscal responsibility. Yet the passing of 12 IMF tests in that period is ignored to say that they were fiscally impossible. The same reality. Macroeconomic reform happened.
So even in that time when things was shaking up, you know, by 9/11, they happened to pass 12 IMF tests. When you really compare what Jonas is talking about and giving JLP this massive praise, using that as an anchor to say to the Jamaican people, this is why you should vote for me and the Jamaica Labour Party, because we have shown you the example of what being fiscally prudent is, compared to what the JLP did in the times in the 18 years ago and so forth. Like, what are you talking about, bro? You know what 9/11 was? You know what that did to the economy worldwide, everywhere? Every single government had to navigate through that. You understand what I'm saying? And to come out of it the best way that they can. And you, based off the numbers, the PMP did a pretty good job. A pretty good job. They did a pretty good job. I'm not going to exaggerate, but they did a pretty good job. Right? So come on, stop the cap, man. Stop it.
They managed the fiscal sector crisis through Finsac, protected over 1.5 million depositors who had money in the bank, and 570,000 policyholders. They also did Highway 2000 and finished Highway 2000, not in the same way they're doing now over into St. Thomas, that you have to dig up and repave and flood out people's yard.
Oh my God, shots fired.
That is funny, honey.
It's not really
That's
that
funny.
funny, but
Oh my God,
you
that
know what I
is
mean?
funny.
Sheesh.
Airport modernization, water, energy and telecommunications improved,
And they proposed the telecommunications bill in the past.
housing and land reform. In that period, the PMP government built 150,000 houses.
Wow.
Include completion of Greater Portmore with over 10,000 homes.
Wow.
And And that was in 1995 alone.
That's crazy.
58,000 families received land titles under what they are trying to malign, the Operation Pride program.
Absolutely.
Health system strengthened. National Health Fund was established by the People's National Party.
Yes, 2003.
Major hospital upgrades. KPH, Mandeville, Spanish Town, Bustamante. Maypen was built. And Mandeville was built. Upgraded. And at that time, there was no cost overrun to the tune of Cornwall Regional. They are telling us that a group of individuals that told the country that Cornwall Regional will take 2 billion to fix.
No, not even advertisement can stop this point from me. Devil is a liar. Let me go back some more.
It was built. Upgrade. Major hospital upgrades. Health system strengthened. National Health Fund was established by the People's National Party.
Yes, 2003.
Major hospital upgrades. KPH, Mandeville, Spanish Town, Bustamante. Maypen was built. And Mandeville was built.
You know, say, yesterday we have an argument. And it was an argument. And I really don't have an issue with having political arguments with people that have sense enough to keep it at the argument. You understand? Because we can disagree like men, right? We don't need to go to nothing physical. But we had an argument yesterday, and somebody actually said to me that PMP never built a hospital. I said, what? I said, man, you tripping? I was laughing. I said, bro, stop the cap. I said, man, you gotta be joking, bro. I said the amount of hospitals these dudes have refurbished and also built, and schools, bro. When it comes to infrastructure, stop it. Just don't do this to yourself. Don't do this to yourself.
Upgraded. Fund was established by the People's National Party.
Yes, 2003.
Major hospital upgrades. KPH, Mandeville, Spanish Town, Bustamante. Maypen was built. And Mandeville was built. Upgraded. And at that time, there was no cost overrun to the tune of Cornwall Regional. They are telling us that a group of individuals that told the country that Cornwall Regional will take 2 billion to fix. Gone 22 billion and counting. And they are fiscally responsible. Beg some protection. None of us in this room, anything. Is it not true that it reached 22 billion?
It's true.
Is it not true that the projection was 2 billion?
That's true.
Is it not true that it has been changed about 6 times?
That's true. Under 8 years. 8 years.
5 billion more?
Yes.
You can answer when I your time. If a mason come to my yard and tell me to fix a problem is 2 million, and then come back to say, by the way, it's 22, me and him fight. It will never. Expansion of school.
Talk the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, I am of the opinion that that is a big scam. That is my opinion. Alright? That whole situation in with that hospital down by Montego Bay side or wherever that is, that Cornwall Regional, man, listen, bro. You nobody can tell me and fix me to believe otherwise. I believe, this is my opinion based off the facts. There is, like the man just suggested, there is no way your estimate in your work can be that off. Listen, if it was off a $500 million or $1 billion, we understand to an extent, and we would still be skeptical in looking into the thing. But yes, you as a professional come to me and say to me, listen, it's gonna take us this amount to get this and this done. Leave some room. How you doing? What can go so, Claude? Lee Mac. What can go so? Leave some room where you cannot be exact with it, when you're talking about refurbishing. So leave some room for, alright, we buck up on this, and this is gonna cost some more money. But from 2 billion to 20 plus billion dollars, no man. No man, you must see one big old donkey on my face. You take me for one big old idiot, right? So let me tell you something, and I've heard Mark Golding allude to this. When Mark Golding goes into power, Mark Golding has a lot of auditing to do. You understand? And Mark Golding, sir, I hope you're paying attention like you say you're paying attention. Some of the things that is being revealed on Partnerjaw TV and other platforms, some important details about a lot of things and a lot of people. I think you should take sleep mark that and really look into your circle of the People's National Party and take out those snakes that are possibly there. Bumpy, big up yourself. Alright? Take out those snakes. And in terms of, this particular issue, yeah man, some serious audits needs to be done. Serious audit. People need to go to prison behind this. The Cornwall Regional Hospital. Seriously. I'm telling you. Let's continue.
They would not accept that in their own lives, but they accept it in the country's lives. Jobs for the elderly program was set up. Education. Listen, they keep saying the Jamaica, you call election, call it, make them decide then, man. Then call it now. You want to call it? Call it now, man. We and the Jamaican people ready. We can't bother with the party. The Jamaican people ready to decide. Yes. Education and human capital development. In that period, tertiary access jumped. University participation rose from 6.5% in 1991 to 19.5% in 2004.
Yes, I moved from one university to 6.
Universal Access Fund was also created. And we had a 500% increase in cell phones, and new fiber optic infrastructure was laid.
And we had to amend the legislation.
Some of these people seem to believe that the cell phone came
just like that.
And if you have money, you buy it. Cellular phones could not have worked if the fiber optics were not run and the necessary infrastructure were not put in place. It was the People's National Party that did that.
And I sat in here when they proposed the bill.
But I want you to also hear this. Poverty rate reduced from 28.4% in 1990 to 9.9% in 2007. This was due to efforts such as the PATH program, the National Poverty Eradication Program that was targeted. 800 million US at that time, billions now in today's money, in investments, and the TEF fund was established. Now let us compare periods. Tertiary enrollment.
Yeah, me say advertisement. Advertisement I go and go there and tell you. Advertisement up on point. Me not like how me appreciate. Alright, let me see.
Increased by 306%.
What?
Students getting access to universities and colleges.
Alright, so that is a total different conversation, right? So, tertiary access. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, this is part 2. This is the close of part 2 of the breakdown of Mr. Damian Crawford's speech. In the next one, we're gonna continue from this point for part 3. Yes, remember to hit the like button, share the live, get us to 1,000 likes and 1,000 shares, ladies and gentlemen. Good.